A billionaire walked into the Devereaux charity gala, but when his wallet slipped open, she saw something that made her blood run cold. Her mother's photo. A simple black woman who had lived an ordinary life, raising her child alone in Brooklyn. Her mother had no known ties to wealth or power. So why was her picture in a white billionaire's wallet? Stay tuned to find out the truth that shattered her world. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from. The crystal chandelier above cast light like broken glass across the marble floor. Alina Torres balanced the silver tray, champagne flutes catching the glow as Manhattan's elite laughed and clinked glasses around her. Her black uniform blended into the background, exactly where she needed to be. Invisible. Safe. Just another waitress serving people who'd never remember her face. But tonight felt different. The air pressed heavy against her chest, thick with expensive perfume and whispered deals worth millions. She moved through the crowd, shoulders tight, eyes down. One spill, one mistake, and she'd lose this gig. She couldn't afford that. Not with tuition due next month. Hi friend, before we continue the story, kindly tell us where are you watching from. And hit that subscribe button now for you to get more, and I have something new for you tomorrow. Stay tuned. Thanks. Let's continue. Then she saw him. Raphael Carrington. The billionaire every business magazine worshipped. 39, self-made, worth more than most small countries. His midnight blue suit probably cost more than her rent for a year. He moved through the crowd like he owned it, because he did. His footsteps echoed sharp against the floor as he approached her station. Alina's hand steadied the tray. She'd served plenty of rich men before. This was no different. Except it was. He took a champagne flute from her tray without looking at her face. Standard. Expected. But then his wallet slipped from his coat pocket, hitting the marble with a soft thud that somehow cut through all the noise in the room. Alina bent down to pick it up. That's when she saw it. The photograph sticking out from the leather fold. A young black woman, radiant, smiling at the camera like she held the world's best secret. Alina's breath caught in her throat. Her fingers went numb. That was her mother. Younger, maybe 25, wearing a yellow dress Alina had only seen in old photo albums hidden in their apartment closet. Her mother, who'd worked double shifts at a Brooklyn diner for 20 years. Her mother, who'd never mentioned knowing anyone with money. Her mother, who died 2 years ago without explaining why certain nights she'd stare out the window like she was waiting for someone who never came. Why did Raphael Carrington have this photo? Alina's vision blurred. The gala sounds faded into static. Her heart hammered against her ribs so hard she thought everyone could hear it. Carrington's hand shot down toward the wallet. But he stopped. His eyes locked on hers for one frozen second. Something flickered across his face. Recognition. Regret. Fear. Then his expression smoothed back into that billionaire mask, calm and controlled, and he snatched the wallet from her trembling fingers. What was her mother to him? Raphael Carrington held the wallet like it might explode. His jaw tightened. His perfectly composed face cracked for just a heartbeat before he forced that smooth smile back into place. The kind of smile that closed billion-dollar deals and crushed competitors. But Alina had seen it. That moment of panic. He straightened his suit jacket with one hand, wallet already disappearing back into his coat. His eyes swept the room, checking if anyone else had noticed. No one had. They never did. The wealthy existed in their own bubble, blind to everything outside it. Except Alina wasn't letting this go. She opened her mouth to speak, but her voice caught. What could she even say? Excuse me, sir, why do you have my dead mother's photo? The absurdity of it made her dizzy. Carrington's gaze flicked back to her. For a split second, something almost human crossed his face. Sadness, maybe. Or guilt. Then it vanished. He nodded once, polite and distant, and turned away. Just like that. Like she didn't matter. Like her mother didn't matter. Alina's hands shook as she gripped the tray tighter. The champagne flutes rattled. A woman in diamonds glanced at her with mild annoyance before looking away. Background noise. That's all she was to these people. But not to him. Raphael Carrington knew her mother. And he was hiding something. She watched him disappear into the crowd, his tall frame cutting through clusters of laughing guests. Security flanked him at a distance, subtle but present. He moved toward the far exit, near the balcony overlooking the Manhattan skyline. Alina's shift didn't end for another 2 hours. But she couldn't just stand here pretending nothing happened. Her feet moved before her brain caught up. She set the tray down on a nearby table and followed him, weaving through perfumed bodies and tailored suits. He stopped near the balcony doors, speaking quietly to a man in a gray suit. Their conversation looked tense. Carrington's shoulders were rigid, his voice low and clipped. The other man nodded and walked away. Then Carrington pulled out his phone. Alina ducked behind a marble pillar, heart racing. She couldn't hear what he was saying, but his free hand ran through his dark hair, a crack in that perfect composure. He looked tired. Older than 39. Like he'd been carrying something heavy for a very long time. Her mother's face flashed in her mind. That smile in the photo. The yellow dress. What happened between them? Carrington ended the call and stepped onto the balcony. Alone. This was her chance. Alina glanced around. No one was watching. She slipped through the glass doors, the cool New York night air hitting her face. He stood at the railing, staring out at the glittering city lights stretching endlessly below. From up here, Manhattan looked like a dream. Beautiful. Untouchable. Alina's voice came out steadier than she felt. Why do you have my mother's photo? Raphael Carrington froze. His hands gripped the balcony railing, knuckles going white. He didn't turn around. Didn't move. For a moment, Alina thought he might pretend he hadn't hurt her. But then his shoulders dropped, just slightly, and he exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for years. You shouldn't be out here. His voice was quiet, controlled. Not angry. Just tired. Answer me. Alina stepped closer, fists clenched at her sides. That was my mother in your wallet. Jasmine Torres. She died 2 years ago. And I need to know why you have her picture. Carrington finally turned. Up close, she could see the lines around his eyes, the weight he carried in his expression. He looked at her like he was seeing a ghost. I thought you should know the truth someday, he said carefully. Each word measured, deliberate. But not like this. Know what truth? Alina's voice cracked. My mother worked at a diner in Brooklyn her whole life. She never mentioned knowing anyone like you. So what are you hiding? His jaw tightened. He glanced back toward the gala, then at her, conflict written across his face. It's complicated. That's not an answer. No, he admitted. It's not. The silence between them stretched, filled only by distant traffic sounds and the muffled music from inside. Alina's chest ached. She'd come here tonight just to make rent money. Now her entire world felt like it was cracking open. Did you love her? The question came out before she could stop it. Carrington's expression shifted. Pain. Real, raw pain. Yes. His voice barely above a whisper. More than I've ever loved anyone. Alina's breath caught. Her mother had never mentioned a relationship with anyone, let alone a billionaire. She'd raised Alina alone, worked herself to exhaustion, never complained. Never explained. Then why weren't you there? Alina's voice shook with anger now. Why did she struggle while you lived like this? She gestured at the gala, the wealth, the empire he commanded. Because I made a choice. His voice hardened. One I've regretted every single day since. Before Alina could respond, footsteps echoed behind them. A security guard appeared in the doorway, his expression professional but firm. Mr. Carrington, your car is ready. Carrington straightened, his billionaire mask sliding back into place. The vulnerability vanished, replaced by cold authority. He looked at Alina one last time. If you want answers, come to my office. Tomorrow. 3 p.m. He pulled a business card from his pocket and held it out. But be sure you're ready to hear them. Alina took the card, her fingers trembling. Carrington walked past her without another word, disappearing back into the gala with his security trailing behind. Alina stood alone on the balcony, the card burning in her hand like evidence of a crime she didn't understand yet. What had her mother been hiding? Alina didn't sleep that night. She sat on her worn couch in her Brooklyn studio apartment, staring at Raphael Carrington's business card under the dim light of a single lamp. Outside, sirens wailed and voices echoed from the street below. The city never slept, and tonight, neither could she. Her laptop screen glowed in the darkness, search results piling up like evidence in a case she was trying to solve. Raphael Carrington. 39. Born in Boston. Self-made tech mogul turned real estate titan. Worth an estimated $8 billion. Headquarters in Manhattan. Homes in New York, Los Angeles, Miami, Seattle. Philanthropist. Donated millions to education programs, children's hospitals, housing initiatives. But nothing personal. No family photos. No relationships mentioned. No scandals. Just a carefully constructed public image of a man who built an empire from nothing. Alina scrolled deeper, searching for anything that connected him to her mother. Birth records, old news articles, social media archives. Nothing. Jasmine Torres had lived a quiet life. Brooklyn born and raised. Worked at Murphy's Diner for 2 decades. Died of a heart attack at 47, too young, too sudden. Alina had been 21, still in college, barely holding it together when the hospital called. Her mother had left behind almost nothing. A small savings account. Some jewelry. Boxes of old photos and letters Alina still hadn't gone through. Maybe the answers were there. Buried in memories she'd been too afraid to revisit. Alina pulled the boxes from her closet at 4 in the morning, exhaustion making her hands clumsy. She dumped the contents onto her floor. Photos scattered. Letters tied with rubber bands. A worn address book with names she didn't recognize. She flipped through the photos first. Her mother at different ages. Some with Alina as a baby. Some alone. And then she found it. A photo she'd never seen before. Her mother, maybe 24, standing in front of a brownstone in what looked like Boston. The address was barely visible on the building behind her. Alina squinted. She could make out partial numbers. She grabbed her laptop and cross-referenced Boston addresses with Raphael Carrington's known properties. Her stomach dropped. The brownstone in the photo matched the address of a building Carrington had sold 15 years ago. Back when he was just starting out, before the billions, before the empire. He'd known her mother when he was nobody. Alina's mind raced. What happened between them? Why did they separate? And why had her mother never mentioned him? She checked the time. 6 a.m. Too early to call anyone. But she couldn't wait until 3 p.m. She needed answers now. Alina showered, dressed, and grabbed the photo. She had his office address from the business card. She'd show up early. Catch him off guard. Make him talk. Because if Raphael Carrington thought she'd wait patiently for the truth, he didn't know Jasmine Torres's daughter at all. What secret was worth hiding for over 20 years? Alina stood outside the glass tower in Midtown Manhattan at 7:30 in the morning, her reflection staring back at her from the polished entrance. Carrington Industries. 52 floors of steel and ambition reaching into the gray New York sky. She didn't belong here. Not in her thrift store jeans and worn jacket. But she pushed through the revolving doors anyway, clutching the old photo like a weapon. The lobby stretched wide and cold, all marble and chrome. A security desk sat in the center, 2 guards watching her approach with professional suspicion. "Can I help you?" The older guard's tone was polite but firm. "I'm here to see Raphael Carrington. Do you have an appointment?" "He told me to come at 3. "I'm early." The guard's expression didn't change. "Mr. Carrington doesn't arrive until 9. You'll need to come back." Alina's jaw tightened. She'd come this far. She wasn't leaving. "I'll wait." The guard exchanged a glance with his partner. "The lobby's not a waiting area, miss. You'll need to. Let her wait." The voice came from behind her. Deep. Familiar. Alina turned. Raphael Carrington stood near the elevator bank, dressed in a charcoal suit, briefcase in hand. He looked like he'd been up all night too. Dark circles under his eyes. Jaw tight with tension. He'd come early. Just like her. "Mr. Carrington, sir, she doesn't have." "I said let her wait." His tone left no room for argument. The guards nodded and stepped back. Carrington's gaze met Alina's. Something unreadable passed between them. Then he gestured toward the elevators. "Come on." Alina followed him, her heart pounding. The elevator doors closed, sealing them in silence as they rode up. 47 floors. The city shrank below them, buildings becoming toys, people disappearing. Neither of them spoke. The elevator dinged. The doors opened onto a private floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Manhattan, the skyline stretching endlessly. His office was massive. Minimalist. Powerful. Carrington set his briefcase down and turned to face her. "You couldn't wait until 3. No. Alina pulled the photo from her pocket and held it up. I found this. Boston. 15 years ago. That's your building behind her. His expression didn't change, but his hands flexed at his sides. You've been digging. You gave me a reason to. He walked to the window, staring out at the city he'd conquered. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, almost broken. I was 24. Nobody. Just a kid with an idea and no money to make it happen. Your mother was a student. Brilliant. Beautiful. We met at a coffee shop in Boston. She was studying education. I was coding 18 hours a day in a basement. Alina's chest tightened. Her mother had never finished college. She'd always said life got in the way. We fell in love, Carrington continued. Fast. Reckless. The kind of love that makes you stupid. I thought we'd build a life together. She believed in me when no one else did. So what happened? He turned to face her, and for the first time, she saw the full weight of his regret. I got my first investor meeting. A chance to pitch my software. Life-changing money. But there was a condition. His voice cracked. The investor was old money. Conservative. He made it clear that if I wanted his backing, I couldn't be with your mother. A black woman from Brooklyn didn't fit the image he wanted for his investment. Alina's blood went cold. And you chose the money. Carrington's silence was answer enough. But what he said next would change everything. The ledger sat on the mahogany desk between them like a confession written in ink and numbers. Alina's hands trembled as she flipped through pages of transactions, donations, wire transfers. All connected to her mother. All signed by Raphael Carrington. She'd found it during a charity auction at his foundation's private library in Washington, D.C. 3 weeks after their first confrontation. She'd volunteered, blended in, searched. And now the truth was spreading across expensive paper in front of her. $50,000. Sent to Brooklyn Community College the year Alina enrolled. Anonymous donor. $20,000. Deposited into her mother's account when the diner closed during the pandemic. Source untraceable. $15,000. Paid directly to Mount Sinai Hospital for her mother's final medical bills. No name attached. Alina's vision blurred. Her throat burned. You've been watching us. Her voice came out raw. Broken. For years. Carrington stood across the desk, silent. His expression carved from stone. She flipped to the final page. A small envelope tucked into the binding, yellowed with age. Her mother's handwriting scrawled across the front. No address. Just 2 words. For Alina. Her hands shook as she tore it open. The letter inside was dated 3 months before her mother died. My dearest baby girl. If you're reading this, then you found him. Or he's found you. Either way, the truth can't hide anymore. Raphael Carrington is not a stranger. He's the man I loved when I was young and foolish enough to believe love could conquer everything. He made a choice that broke us. But he also made a promise. To protect you. Always. Even if you never knew his name. I was angry for years. I hated him for choosing money over us. But watching you grow up, seeing the opportunities that appeared when we needed them most, I understood. Power without consequences is dangerous. But power used quietly, carefully, to protect the people you failed, that's something else. That's redemption. Don't hate him, Alina. He's carried this weight alone long enough. Some truths demand patience. Some revelations demand courage. And some men spend their whole lives trying to make up for one mistake. Forgive him. And forgive me for not telling you sooner. Love always, Mama. Alina's tears fell onto the paper, smudging the ink. Her chest heaved with sobs she couldn't control. Everything she thought she knew about her life had been a lie. Every scholarship. Every mysterious check that arrived when rent was due. Every door that opened when it should have stayed closed. It was him. All of it. Carrington's voice broke the silence, quiet and wrecked. She never cashed the first check I sent. Returned it with a letter telling me to stay away. So I learned to hide it better. To make it look like luck. Coincidence. Anything but what it really was. Guilt, Alina whispered. Yes. He didn't deny it. And love. I couldn't be in your lives. But I couldn't abandon you either. She looked up at him through tears. This man who'd built empires, controlled markets, commanded respect from presidents and CEOs. He looked small now. Human. Haunted by choices made decades ago. Why didn't you just walk away from that investor? Her voice cracked. Why didn't you choose her? His jaw tightened. Pain flashed across his face. Because I was a coward. The words came out like gravel. I told myself I'd make the money, then come back for her. That I'd prove I could give her everything. But by the time I had the power to tell that investor to go to hell, she'd already moved on. Built a life without me. And I didn't deserve to disrupt it. The weight of 23 years hung between them. All the birthdays he'd missed. All the moments he'd watched from the shadows. All the sacrifices her mother made while he counted billions. Alina's hands curled into fists. You can't buy back time. Her voice steadied, cold and clear. No amount of money erases what you took from her. From us. I know. He met her eyes. No excuses. No defense. Just raw truth. But I'm still here. And if there's anything I can do, anything you need. I need you to tell me one thing. Alina stood, the letter clutched in her hand. Did she ever forgive you? Carrington's composure finally shattered. His voice broke. I don't know. She never told me. But there was more. Something he still wasn't saying. Alina could see it in the way his hands trembled. The way he couldn't quite meet her eyes. What else was he hiding? The conference room in his Dallas office felt too big for just the two of them. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city skyline, oil rigs dotting the horizon like monuments to money and power. Alina sat across from Carrington, the mahogany table stretching between them like a canyon. She'd flown here on her own dime. Taken time off work. Because the letter had raised more questions than answers, and she wasn't leaving until she had them all. There's something else, she said, her voice cutting through the silence. I can see it. You're still holding back. Carrington's fingers drummed against the table. Once. Twice. Then stopped. You're right. He stood and walked to the window, hands clasped behind his back. The position of a man used to carrying weight no one else could see. Your mother didn't just walk away after I made my choice. She tried to fight for us. Showed up at my first board meeting. Confronted me in front of the investors. Told them exactly what kind of man I was. Alina's breath caught. That sounded like her mother. Fierce. Unbreakable. What happened? They laughed her out of the room. His voice went flat. Cold. Called her a gold digger. A distraction. Security escorted her out. And I stood there and let it happen. The room felt smaller. Darker. After that, she disappeared. Changed her number. Moved to Brooklyn. I hired investigators to find her, but by the time they did, she was pregnant. With you. Alina's world tilted. Her hands gripped the armrests of her chair. You knew about me? Not at first. He turned to face her. I found out 2 years after you were born. I wanted to reach out. To apologize. To be part of your life. But my lawyers advised against it. Said she could sue for child support. Damage my reputation. Ruin everything I'd built. So you paid her off instead. The words tasted like poison. I tried. He laughed, bitter and broken. She refused. Every check. Every offer. She wanted nothing from me. So I had to get creative. Scholarships in her name. Anonymous donors. Shell companies that funded the programs she qualified for. I became a ghost in your lives. Present but invisible. Alina stood, anger flooding through her veins. You don't get to call that love. You don't get to pretend you cared when you were too much of a coward to show your face. You're right. He didn't defend himself. Didn't argue. I was a coward. I am a coward. I built an empire but couldn't face the woman I destroyed. Or the daughter I never had the courage to meet. The silence stretched, heavy with years of missed chances and broken promises. Alina's voice came out quieter now. Exhausted. She used to stare out the window some nights. Like she was waiting for someone. Was she waiting for you? Carrington's eyes glistened. He looked away. I don't know. I hope not. Because I never came. The truth settled over them like ash. No redemption. No Hollywood ending. Just two people standing in the wreckage of choices made by someone who thought money could fix everything. Alina pulled her coat tighter around herself. I came here for answers. I got them. But I still don't know what to do with them. Neither do I, Carrington admitted. She walked toward the door, each step heavier than the last. But before she left, she turned back one final time. My mother deserved better than you. I know. His voice broke. She deserved the world. Alina left him standing alone in that massive office, surrounded by everything he'd gained and everything he'd lost. But outside, in her rental car, she sat in the parking garage and cried. Because now she understood. Some people spend their whole lives running from their mistakes. And some people spend their whole lives paying for them. Which one was Raphael Carrington? And more importantly, could she ever forgive him? Alina stood in Raphael Carrington's private Manhattan office for the last time. Rain streaked down the windows, distorting the city lights into blurred stars. It had been 6 months since she'd first seen her mother's photo in his wallet. 6 months of searching, confronting, unraveling a past that had shaped her entire life without her knowing. Now she was here for the final truth. Carrington sat behind his desk, older somehow. The weight of decades pressing down on his shoulders. He'd asked her to come. Said there was one more thing she needed to know. I'm dying, he said simply. The words hit her like a fist to the chest. What? Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. 6 months, maybe less. He said it without emotion. Like he was reading stock reports. I've known for 3 months. Didn't see the point in telling you before now. Alina sank into the chair across from him, her legs suddenly weak. Why are you telling me now? He pulled a folder from his desk drawer and slid it across to her. Inside were legal documents. Dense paragraphs of text she didn't understand at first. Then she saw the numbers. $300 million. In a trust. In her name. No. She shoved the folder back. Absolutely not. It's not charity, Carrington said quietly. It's what your mother should have had. What you should have had. I can't give you back time, Alina. But I can give you freedom. Choices. The life she wanted for you. I don't want your money. Her voice shook with anger. With grief. With something she couldn't name. Then give it away. Build something in her name. Do whatever you want with it. But it's yours. Because she earned it. Every single dollar. By raising an incredible daughter without any help from me. Tears burned Alina's eyes. She hated that he was dying. Hated that she cared. Hated that after everything, some part of her still wanted to know who he could have been if he'd made different choices. Did you ever try to contact her again? After I was born? Once. His voice dropped to barely a whisper. 5 years ago. I wrote her a letter. Never sent it. But I kept it. In case I ever found the courage. He opened another drawer and pulled out an envelope. Worn. Creased. Like he'd held it 1,000 times. He handed it to her. Alina's hands shook as she opened it. The letter inside was dated 5 years ago. Right before her mother got sick. Jasmine, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I need you to know that not a day has passed where I didn't think about you. About the life we could have had. I told myself I chose ambition over love. But the truth is, I chose fear. Fear of being poor again. Fear of failing. Fear of not being enough for you. I was wrong. And I've spent every year since trying to make it right in the only way I know how. By protecting our daughter. I know you hate me. I know I don't deserve anything from you. But if you ever need me, for anything, I'm here. I'll always be here. Even if you never want to see me again. I'm sorry. For everything. Yours always, Raphael. Alina folded the letter carefully, her heart breaking for both of them. For her mother, who'd carried this pain alone. For Carrington, who'd built a kingdom but lost everything that mattered. She knew, Alina whispered. About the money. The scholarships. Everything. How do you know? Her letter. The one in the ledger. She knew. And she forgave you. Not because you deserved it. But because she was bigger than the hurt. Carrington's face crumpled. Decades of control finally shattered. He covered his face with his hands and wept. Deep, broken sobs that shook his entire body. Alina stood and walked around the desk. She placed a hand on his shoulder. Not forgiveness. Not absolution. Just recognition. Human to human. Two people scarred by the same loss. You can't fix the past, she said softly. But you don't have to die carrying it alone. He looked up at her, tears streaming down his face. What do I do now? You live, Alina said. Whatever time you have left. You stop hiding. You stop running. And you let people see you. The real you. Not the billionaire. Not the empire. Just Raphael. For the first time in 23 years, Raphael Carrington smiled. A real smile. Small and sad and grateful. Your mother would be so proud of you. I know, Alina whispered. I know. 3 months later, Alina stood in a Brooklyn community center, surrounded by kids laughing and running through halls that smelled like fresh paint and new beginnings. The Jasmine Torres Education Center. Funded by the trust Carrington had left her. Open to every child who needed a safe place to learn, grow, and dream. She'd taken the money. Not for herself. But for this. For her mother's legacy. Raphael Carrington sat in a wheelchair near the window, thinner now, weaker, but present. He'd insisted on coming for the opening. Refused to miss it. Alina walked over and sat beside him. She would have loved this, he said quietly, watching the kids play. Yeah. She would have. They sat in comfortable silence, two people who'd started as strangers and ended as something else. Not quite family. Not quite friends. But connected by love and loss and the woman who'd shaped them both. Do you regret it? Alina asked. The choice you made? Carrington was quiet for a long moment. Every single day, he finally said. But regret doesn't change anything. It just teaches you who you don't want to be. Alina nodded. She'd spent months wrestling with anger, grief, and confusion. But somewhere along the way, she'd realized something her mother had known all along. Forgiveness wasn't about erasing the past. It was about choosing not to let it destroy your future. Thank you, she said. For protecting us. Even when you couldn't be there. Carrington's eyes filled with tears. Thank you for letting me be here now. They watched the children together, two imperfect people trying to honor someone who'd been better than both of them. And for the first time, Alina felt something close to peace. What would you do if you discovered the truth about your past? Would you forgive or hold on to the pain? Tell us in the comments. 6 months after the community center opened, Alina stood at her mother's grave in Brooklyn. Fresh flowers in her hands. The sun setting over the city her mother had loved. Raphael Carrington had passed 3 weeks ago. Quietly. Surrounded by the few people he'd let into his final days. Alina had been there. Holding his hand. Telling him it was okay to let go. He'd left her one final letter. Short. Simple. Alina, power can buy silence. Wealth can build empires. But neither can buy back time. I spent my life chasing things that didn't matter. And I lost the only things that did. Don't make my mistakes. Live fully. Love fearlessly. And remember that the most profound legacies are the ones invisible to the world but felt by those who matter most. Your mother taught me that. Even if I learned it too late. Thank you for giving me a chance to be part of something real. Even at the end. Yours always, Raphael. Alina folded the letter and placed it in her pocket. She knelt and placed the flowers on her mother's grave. I understand now, Mama, she whispered. Why you forgave him. Why you let him help us. Not because he deserved it. But because you knew love was bigger than pride. The wind rustled through the trees. Somewhere in the distance, a child laughed. Alina stood, wiping her eyes, and walked back toward the city. Toward the life her mother had wanted for her. The life Raphael Carrington had tried to give her. The life she was finally ready to live. Because some truths arrive late. Some revelations demand courage. But forgiveness, real forgiveness, demands something even harder. It demands letting go. Power can hide. Wealth can shield. But love and sacrifice are universal. And sometimes, the most profound legacies are those invisible to the world but felt by those who matter most. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another story that inspires. We have something powerful coming tomorrow. Tell us in the comments what lesson you're taking from Alina's journey. And remember, the truth may arrive late, but it always reshapes everything. See you in the next story.